Welcome to this GiftWorks 2011 video. My name is Jonathan Lehman, and this is the second video in a two-part video series on the improved receipting of donations in GiftWorks 2011. Now, in the first video, I reviewed the improved flexibility in determining which donors get receipts and when and how receipts are issued, and I also showed the ability to issue consolidated receipts for a donor that include more than one donation. Now, in this video, I will review the improvements for reprinting a receipt or reissuing a receipt when you need to make a change to a donation after a receipt has been issued. I will also touch on some of the additional changes made to support Canadian receipting and also some of the other additional features that have been added. So let's get started by signing into GiftWorks. And as I said, GiftWorks 2011 helps you manage the process of reprinting or reissuing receipts. This will improve your communication with your donors, and for some nonprofits, like our Canadian friends, this will satisfy legal requirements. So let me start by going and viewing a donation that we receipted in our last video. The Jill year-end receipt donor. I'm going to look at her donations and view the gift. This is a gift that we receipted. You'll see here that says receipt 181 was sent on 9/22/2010. I have the option to view the receipt, which I had in prior versions of GiftWorks. So if I go ahead and do that, one of the things I want to point out that notice here at the top it says copy of the original receipt. So this is how I would reprint a receipt. I would click print here and reprint this, but it says copy of the original receipt. Now, how does that happen? Well, let me show you the steps that you would need to control that. So let's go to the mailing section, go to Manage Letter Library, and I'm going to click on my receipt templates. I'm going to click on the special gift receipt. And you'll notice if I click edit to edit that one of the fields that's on the receipt is called the donation receipt status description. And this field is available under my donation field sections for any receipt template. It's available here at the bottom. So what does that mean? Well, if I put this donation receipt status description on my mailing template, it means that if it's the first, it will control and put a description on my receipt based on the status of the receipt. So whether it's the first time I printed the receipt, or whether I'm viewing the receipt and I'm going to print a copy of the receipt, or do it, that's called a reprint, or whether I'm reissuing a receipt and it's replacing an existing receipt. So maybe I've made a change to the donation, and now I'm going to reissue a receipt. But where do those descriptions come from? I want to show you that in the settings area. If you go to click on settings, and you go to accounting, and you go to change receipt options, this is the place where you can work with different receipt options. At the top here is our standard where you can reset the receipt number, which existed in prior versions of GiftWorks. Here's also where you can set the default letter template for a receipt. Well, what I want to focus on right now is the receipt status description, receipt status section, which has these three different descriptions. So here I have a description for the description I want to print if it's the original receipt, the description I want to print if it's a reprint, and the description I want to print if it's a replacement receipt. And I can change these. So maybe for original receipts, I don't want to print anything. Or maybe I just want this to say cancels receipts and list the receipt number. So I would need to put the receipt status description on my receipt template, and then I can control the descriptions that will be placed on there on that template field based on the status of the receipt. I can control that here in the settings area. The other thing I want to show here while I'm here is the reissue receipt prompt. So I'm going to be showing you how to reissue a receipt next. And if you change a donation that has already had a receipt issued for it, it will automatically prompt you to reissue a receipt if you have this checked. And I would recommend you leave this checked. If for some reason in your organization you don't want to see that prompt, you can uncheck that, and you will not be prompted to reissue a receipt when you change a donation that has already been receipted. But we're going to leave that checked on, and I'm not going to save these changes I made here either. So let's go back and view this donation for Jill year-end receipt. Let's go to donations. Let's view this. View this gift, and then we'll view the receipt. Well, actually, I'm gonna actually show you the reissuing. So I'm gonna edit this gift. So let's say that there was a data entry error, and let's say it was actually it was $600. So again, when I go ahead and go to save that donation, remember this has already been issued a receipt. It's going to give me a prompt. It's the reissue receipt for changed donation prompt. And this gives me some choices. The default choice is to leave the receipt information, the receipt number and date, unchanged. Do nothing with it. Perhaps I changed the campaign for this donation, and that really doesn't affect my receipt, so maybe I don't want to do anything. But if I want to do something, I can click the clear the receipt information for this donation, and it will automatically clear the receipt date. It will clear the receipt date and the receipt number for the donation I changed, but it also gives me the option of clearing the receipt date number for any of the other donations that were included on that receipt. And in most cases, you would want to probably include all the donations that were on that receipt, but you could choose just to clear the receipt information for that one receipt that one donation you changed. And also by default, it will automatically take me through the mailing process and take me through to reprint a new receipt for any of the donations that are cleared up here right now, if I want to do that. Now, for some reason I want to wait, I can uncheck that, and it would just simply clear the receipt date and number for these donations, and those donations could automatically be included in my next donation receipt mailing process. But I would suggest in most cases, if you're going to reissue a receipt, you would just want to leave these defaults set the way they are. You click next. It's going to start the mailing process. I'm going to leave it as one receipt per donor because I'm going to want to send one receipt out for this donor. And you'll notice that it includes the 2 donations that were on that original receipt. I'm going to click next. Click next. I want to preview this receipt. I want to show you that it's going to show that it cancels and replaces receipt 181. That's because of that receipt status description that was on my receipt template. I'm going to generate the mailing. Click next, and I'm going to actually click done, which will regenerate the receipt number. So you see now I'm right here at the receipt. You'll see that it shows me that receipt 184 was sent on 9/22/2010. I can view that receipt. One of the things I want to point out is that now this would be a reprint of that reissued receipt. So it not only says cancels and replaces 181, but it also says it's a copy of the original receipt 184. And another thing I want to point out is that also when you're viewing a donation or a pledge payment, it also shows you the history of the previously issued receipt. So we can see that I previously issued receipt 181 on 9/22 for this donation. And let's talk about Canadian receipting. GiftWorks 2011 provides all the necessary changes to meet the legal requirements for gift receipting issued by the Canada Revenue Agency. And what I just showed you, I've just shown you with reissuing receipts, is a big part of some of their requirements. That might also be a legal requirement for wherever you're located, but it definitely also satisfies the Canada Revenue Agency requirements. We've also made some other changes to support legal requirements for Canada or support their receipting. One is that one of the requirements is when you're doing an in-kind gift in Canada that you include the appraiser details. So if I go to the settings area, you go to customize, go to change GiftWorks fields on the payment types. I'm going to show you, I'm going to go into a payment type, I'm going to go into the goods payment type. You'll notice that the appraiser details is now some fields that are available. You can include on any payment type. By default, when your database is upgraded, we include it on the goods payment type, which means that when you add a donation for the goods payment type, you will be prompted to enter appraiser name and information for that gift, and that can be included in your letter templates. And the other thing is that we've also for the Canadian nonprofits, if you go to the mailing section to your letter library, when your database is upgraded, we've added a default Canadian receipt template, which you can use as a starting point, or you can use it as is. It meets all the legal requirements for cash gifts for Canadian receipting. Quickly, some of the other things that we've done in the importing section. It used to be when you would import, go to the settings section, go to import. When you would import donations, you never had the option of including those in your receipting process, and now you do. So if I select my file to import here, you have some options here at the bottom. The default is that none of the donations will be receipted. That's the way GiftWorks works today. But if you want to allow donations to be receipted, then it will allow you to either map choices for each of those donations, such as whether you want to issue a receipt for that donation and what receipt group you want it to be part of. But if you choose not to import that, then it will set the settings for those donations based on the donor preferences. So whether that donor wants to have receipts issued or what receipt group they're part of. So it gives you some flexibility there. Also in the settings area, additional settings and tools, we've added numerous options for updating all items in a smart list. You can change receipt defaults of our receipt preferences of smart list members, so you can change your receipt preferences for donors, such as a list of donors, whether you want to issue receipts for them and what receipt group. You can also do the same thing for pledge preferences, and also for receipts For received donations, you can change the receipt settings for a group of donations. This is a way of adding them to the receipt process. So you could select a set of donations and add them to change their receipt, whether or not you want to issue receipts for them and what receipt group they're part of. And you can also, one other option you have is to reset receipt numbers and dates. So you can actually reset receipt numbers and dates for a set of donations. So we give you a lot of options for updating existing donors, preferences for donors and pledges, and also information for received donations and pledge payments. So we hope you're pleased with these improvements to the GiftWorks receipting process. We believe it'll increase the effectiveness of your communication with your donors and allow you to issue receipts according to your specific needs and your donors' preferences. And we thank you for watching these videos, and we hope that they have been helpful.